Right, this is a quick walk around video, and this is for a top of the range Honda Civic 2.2 EX GT diesel. You can see here 62 plates on these new shaped ones, with just 51,000 miles on the clock. Being an EX GT, of course, it gets the panoramic roof, full leather interior, sat nav, rear camera, keyless start, keyless entry. It's got loads of equipment. It's a very, very high spec car, and it is in really, really lovely condition. Go around the front of the car for you. Bumper and bonnet very, very, very clean. Hardly a stone chip there at all. It's obviously going to be the odd one, very minor one somewhere. Then coming down the near side of the car first, really, really smooth in the panels. You can't see any car park indentations at all when I squat down there. Front wing, absolutely as clean as a whistle. Front alloy, very good. There is a few light marks on the spokes there. Obviously near side front is the one that always takes the impact, but they're relatively light, and certainly in keeping with the car that's up to 7 years old now. Rear alloy, really, really good. Very clean indeed. And just come around the back of the car. Obviously the car benefits from having front and rear sensors, as well as the parking camera. So there's no excuses to see any marks on the back, and there's none to speak of at all. It's really very, very clean there. Camera on the off side of the car, as with the near side, really very clean on the panels there. Offside rear alloy, very, very good indeed. And the remaining panel works absolutely lovely. It's been really very nicely looked after, this car, inside and out, and obviously mechanically as well. And final alloy, again, really, really good. So overall, given the age of mileage of the car, it's in really, really fabulous condition. Coming to the back of the car now, as you probably already know, these Civics have absolutely enormous boot areas. Really nicely finished, and this one's in lovely condition back here. They also have this little cubby hole in there as well, which is good, sort of 7 or 8 inches at least of depth there. Probably slightly more, but if you give it a yank, drop it down, then that sits inside itself, and you create a load of boot depth as well. Coming into the back of the car now, I've raised the seats into their vertical position. This forms part of this absolutely ingenious magic seats. Really very, very clever. Full set of original Honda mats, but it's all in absolutely beautiful condition back here. Just drop them down, as always by Honda, beautifully engineered. Just lift the lever up and drop it down. It's as simple as that. With the seats set down now, you can see these cars have loads of rear leg room, and I'm not cheating because the front seats are set for me, and I'm over 6 foot tall. So if you're shorter than me, you can have even more space. And the leatherwork is in really great condition. Front passenger door card, as with all the others, looks pretty much as new. It's been kept really, really nicely. Footwell area again, beautiful condition, and the passenger seat here has been given absolutely minimal use. It looks as new. Coming to the front, and the door card on the driver's side here, as with the others, absolutely beautiful, including all the little recesses. Again, footwell area, very, very clean and tidy. On the EX GT, you get the electrical adjustment there for your lumbar and wing pads, which can sort of pinch you in, which is a really nice touch. Again, absolutely fabulous condition there. If you look above as well, obviously panoramic roof, huge one-piece roof there, and you've got an electric blind that claps shut on them as well. And that's all working perfectly, by the way. So sat inside the car now, engine's running through the section, so you can see the dashboard actually illuminated. The dashboard itself looks pretty much as new. It's in incredible condition. You can see there, sat nav working absolutely perfectly. If I pop the car into reverse, you get that lovely clear gridded parking camera as well, all working perfectly as well, of course. But very, very high quality interior, dual zone climate control and heated seats, again all working exactly as they should. But everything's just been kept so nicely. If I come back here, this is this wonderful view of this absolutely fantastic dashboard, and that's pretty much how you should set your driving position. So the steering wheel rim is slap bang between the rev counter and the speedo above, but it's such a wonderful, wonderful dashboard. As you can see there, there's no warning lights on the dashboard at all relating to the engine or any other part of the vehicle. I'll just go over here as well for you. Sorry, I'm trying to snag the wire. Hopefully you can see 51,916 miles recorded. Just to quickly show you, quite often overlooked actually, but the owner's manual pack for the car and the navigation system, plus very importantly locking wheel nut keys here and present with the car. So finally, just to come under this wonderfully presented engine bay, as Honda always tend to do. They're a mechanic's dream in terms of just basic servicing. I mean, quite often you'll find oil filters hidden somewhere underneath, but there you are. It's just there. It's so simple to get at. This car's just been serviced, by the way. Cam chain driven, no cam belts in them either. A wonderful, wonderful engine. Right then, this is a road test video, and this is for a Honda Civic 2.2 EX GT. Car's registered AV62FVJ, and mileage at the start of the road test is 51,908 miles. Reason for doing the road tests, as I say in pretty much all of them, is essentially so people who've seen this car online in an advert actually get to see the very car in operation. That way, if there's any issues on the vehicle, we can and we will relay them back to you. It's the very point of doing the video. We're well aware that many of our customers come from not just locally to us, but quite often from Europe, in fact, so you know, all across Europe. So the least we can do is go to the time and trouble to do this for you. It's also done on these lovely quiet country roads. We're very lucky to be in this lovely part of Gloucestershire. We're literally just about sort of 10-15 miles north of Bristol, and we're just off the motorway. You'd never believe it when you came down here, but it's ever so easy to get to. So coming to the car itself, clearly it's been a very, very well looked after car. All its servicing up until this point has been done by the Honda main dealers, and essentially it feels like it. The car, by the way, after this road test is going straight in for service and its pre-delivery inspection prior to sale. But the engine, starting with that of course, keyless start, so just push the button and it starts immediately straight into life, and they're just a lovely, lovely engine. It's they do the two engines. The latest generation uses the 1.6 downsized engine, which is a great engine in its own right. I've always had a soft spot for the 2.2s. It's got great lugging ability, pulls really, really well from even the lowest revs. Give me 1 second, just wait to get past the cyclist. But yeah, it pulls beautifully from any rev, even with a full complement of people on board and luggage. It's a fantastic unit, very, very refined, very sweet revving. Once you're up into the higher gears, third gear upwards, you'd never know it was a diesel at all. It's just got that lovely quality to it. There's no warning lights on the dashboard at all relating to the engine or any other part of the vehicle. As I've only just started the car and it is cold, obviously the temperature gauge is still right down, so I'll check that towards the end of the video. Engine then feeds through clutch and into gearbox. Clutch on the car, smooth, quiet, positive in operation, and the bite point is exactly where it should be on the car as well, so all in good order there. Clutch then feeds through into this really high quality gearbox, 6 speeds of course. It's the quality of the gear change which counts on the Hondas. They do a fantastic job, and they always have done on gearboxes. It's got a really lovely actuation to it. It just feels like a high quality machine. Quite often, most front wheel drive cars, gear lever here, gearbox under the car, is a cable now that runs to the gearboxes rather than linkages. And that can mean you can have some fairly lifeless gear changes or slightly vague ones. This is none of those. It's got a mechanical feel to it which is brilliant, but it's got a very defined gait. It just positively encourages driving, as opposed to some that positively don't, of course. But a great gearbox, and I can feel no wear in it at all. It feels absolutely as new. Steering of the car is a real strong point on these Civics. Very nice steering, very well weighted, incredibly accurate. The steering on this particular vehicle, it tracks absolutely dead straight. There's no vibrations coming back to the steering wheel at all on the car at this speed, or any speed up to the legal limited speeds at which I'm allowed to drive the car. But it feels really precise. I can't feel any wear through the steering at all. There's no vagueness, no looseness, nothing at all. It really is a class act. Chassis of the vehicle, again, which is perfectly tuned to the steering of the car. Quite often, if you've got quick steering and the car's a bit floppy and soft, it can just make it feel a bit lurchy and unpleasant. This has been very well tuned. The chassis is incredibly comfortable, very controlled. Damping is brilliant on the suspension. Rides out these sharper ridges a million times better than the last generation ever could. And they weren't as bad as people thought, but they've done a brilliant job in listening to their critics. But it's lost none of its kind of verve and vigour. It's still a really enthusiastic car, and a very dynamic one to drive. So if you enjoy your driving, but you're having to sort of go down the family car route, they're a really, really great car for that, compared to lots of its competitors, which some can seem very one-dimensional. But again, what I'm looking for on the chassis is any signs of kind of mechanical noises coming from underneath the car that shouldn't be there. So you'll obviously hear it hitting a bump, but there shouldn't be any kind of clunks or clonks coming from underneath the car. And there's nothing on this at all. It's exactly as it should be. So just checking the cruise control, that all works perfectly. Also, very, very quiet on the cruise as well. This generation, a lot less road noise and wind noise than the generation before. Sorry. Just going to give the brakes a bit of a shove. I'm going to turn left here. Leave it a little bit later than I would do normally. But yeah, really great brake pedal on the car. Again, braking system's far better than the last generation. Bigger discs all around, so bigger pad area, so far less resistant to fade if you really do push on. But there's no pulsing or vibrations to the brake pedal. When I hit the brakes, the car comes down straight and true. It doesn't pull left, right, or otherwise. Looking around inside the car, and whilst it goes in for a service, it'll be cleaned as well, but in all honesty, it hardly needs it. It's in lovely condition in here. I adore these dashboards, I really do. Firstly, the interior, which the video can't get across to you, the build quality is sensational. There's no creaks, groans, rattles, nothing you don't expect on this generation. Soft touch plastics on these higher panels now, taken straight from the previous generation Accord, so it gives it a really nice quality feel inside the car. But it's just such an easy car to operate. Sat-nav working perfectly, dual zone climate control, all the switches, every button you press has a really lovely high quality actuation to it. They really do put a lot of thought in, both the primary and secondary controls on their cars, and ergonomically it's very, very well done. And then this part in front of me, which they've kind of carried over, but in a slightly different way from the last generation, I absolutely love. You've got high up information display up there. Then the best bit for me, this high level speedo there. I can clearly see the car in front, but I can also keep my eyes on my speed at the same time, not having to take my eyes off the road for a second. Down below you've got a more conventional pod of information, or 3 pods with information in them rather. Centrally, big dominating rev counter, much in a Honda way. The fuel gauge on the right and temperature gauge on the left there, which now the car's up to operating temperature and is warm enough, is running at a third, which is exactly where it should be on a Honda car, by the way. But everything's working absolutely perfectly in it. Every dial, every switch, every function is working absolutely spot on. I said it'll all be thoroughly checked in the pre-delivery inspection anyway, but I've pressed every button, tried every operation, and all working perfectly. They really are terrific cars. I mean, they really are. I know that this stuff isn't for everybody, and I actually personally think that's a good idea. I think that's great, because I think any bit of styling. You know, if everyone likes it, I don't know. I just don't subscribe to that. I think they've done a great job, but it isn't for everybody. But it works brilliantly. As I said at the start of the video, it is critical. So there's something not right on the car, you get to know about it. There's nothing on this car at all. I used to work for the Honda main dealers. I used to be one of the buyers for the Honda dealer. So I was, you know, my task was going out to buy good cars for them. So I hopefully know what I'm doing. And this drives absolutely beautifully by any standard. It really does. There's nothing to report back on the vehicle at all. Having said that, if I've missed something on the video and you'd like to know anything, please do give us a call.